Okay. Peace and love, black families. The Prince of Pan-Africanism. We back again. We about to talk about manifestation, determination. Okay. I'm trying to sweat this cold out. You feel me? That's why I'm wrapped up. Got to sweat the cold out. Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about manifestation, determination. Okay. A special ed child in the United States of America can only be suspended 10 days total, after which time the IEP team needs to come together and conduct a manifestation determination to determine whether or not it is in the best interest of that child for them to be suspended additional days beyond the 10 days that they have already served. Please do not confuse the 10-day suspension rule for a special ed child with the 10-day suspension rule for a regular ed child. In other words, a principal can suspend a child for a maximum of 10 days. A principal can suspend a child for a maximum of 10 days per incident. Does everybody understand this? Now, of course, we know every incident comes with its own particular consequence. So if you use profanity, you might get 1 day. You cut school, you might get 2 days. You get in a fight, you might get 5 days. Okay. But federal law says no child in the United States of America can be suspended more than 10 days at a time. 10 days is the maximum. If the principal wants to suspend a child for more than 10 days, he has to recommend to the local school board, because only the local school board can expel children. He has to recommend that the child receive a temporary expulsion of 11 days or more. Did y'all hear what I said? A temporary expulsion of 11 days or more. Any removal of a child from school that is more than 10 days is considered a temporary expulsion. Temporary expulsion. I need y'all to understand that. Okay. So, no child can be suspended more than 10 days at a time. But there is no limit on how many total days a regular child can be suspended. Do y'all understand? Let me say this again. There is no limit to how many days a regular child can be suspended from school. There's no limit on the total. Now, they can only be suspended 10 days total per incident. Okay? If you suspend them for more than 10 days, the principal can't do it. The school board has to do it. So let me say this again. The principal can only suspend a child 10 days maximum per incident. 10 days maximum. If you want to go above a 10-day suspension, you have to go to the school board. Only the school board can expel a child. Removal of a child of more than 10 days is a temporary expulsion. Okay, so everybody clear. There is no limit on how many days a regular kid can be suspended from school. But there is a limit on how many days they can be suspended per incident by the principal. Okay? Now, special ed kids can only be suspended 10 days total for the entire school year. I want y'all to get this now. Regular kids, 10 days per incident. Special kids, 10 days total. Once a special ed child has been suspended for 10 days total. So school just started, right? School just started August, September. It's now October. Let's say your special ed kid already has 10 suspension days. Your special ed kid has 10 suspension days already, right? He does something else. Let's say he gets into a fight. He already has 10 days. The IEP team, we talked about this in one of the previous tutorials, right? The IEP team has to come together and decide whether or not they are going to approve additional days for that special ed kid above and beyond the 10. Okay? So as a principal, so Umar Johnson is the principal. I suspended your kid 10 total days. He's in special ed. I suspended him 2 days the first week of school, 2 days the second week of school, 2 days the third week of school. I suspended him for 2 days last week, and I suspended him for 2 days this week. So I done used up my 10. But he does something else, and I want to suspend his ass again. Okay? Guess what? I can't unless the IEP team comes together and determines whether or not it is legally defensible to suspend that kid more than the 10 days that are already used up. How does the school determine if it is legally acceptable to suspend your special ed child more than the 10 total days that he's already had? There is a process that they have to go through known as manifestation determination. I hope you black special ed parents with badass kids are listening to this, because you need to know this. Okay, you need to know this. This is a right that you have, and you need to know it. So I hope you're paying attention. Okay? Okay. So I suspended your kid for 10 days. I want to suspend him for 2 more. So I want to take it up to 12. Can I do it? No, unless the IEP team conducts a manifestation determination and approves the additional days. Now, there's 2 questions that have to be answered affirmatively. Or should I say there's 2 questions that have to be answered in order for that special ed kid to be suspended additional days. Okay? What are the 2 questions? Question number 1. I just saw a question that I want to answer. Let me answer this question. One of the sisters just asked a good question. She said, does in-school suspension days count? Yes, they do. In-school suspension days do count towards the 10-day suspension total for a special ed child. Okay, let me say that again. In-school suspension days do count towards the 10 total suspension days for a special ed child in the United States of America. This is why parents of special ed boys and girls, but especially bad little brothers, okay, because you raised them with no discipline, okay? So anyhow, this is why you need to keep account of suspensions yourself. Did you hear what I just said, parents? This is for special ed and regular ed parents. You should keep a record of your child's days of suspension. Don't rely on the school secretary to give you an accurate accounting of suspension days. Okay? Bakari said, I'm not sure about in-school suspension. Well, Bakari, I am sure. Okay? And in-school suspension days are a part of the suspension total. Yes, they do count. Trust me. I've been in enough special ed due process hearings, and I work with enough lawyers. Trust me, I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm pretty good, okay? But definitely, in-school suspension days count. In-school suspension days do count towards the 10-day total. This is why you need to keep track of your child's in-school suspension days. This is also why you need to keep track of the out-of-school suspension days. Now, before I get to the manifestation determination questions, because it's only 2 questions, okay? Let me say this. Special ed parents, please be careful. Please be careful about letting the principal or the dean of students or the vice principal play you for a sucker. What am I talking about? I'm talking about your son got in trouble, and instead of giving him a suspension, they called you up and told you to come pick up John John. And they said, if you come pick up John John, we're not going to write this down as a suspension. We'll just put it down as a we'll just put it down as a early dismissal, right? So they got you thinking that they looking out for you. They not looking out for you. They looking out for them because they know they only have 10 days. So if I can get his mother, who doesn't know her rights, to come pick up John twice a week for the whole first half of the school year, that means I technically suspended your kid 20 or 30 days already, but it don't count. You know why? Because you signed the early dismissal book. That's right. You signed the early dismissal book. And because you signed, okay, nah, Kimley, special ed kids can be suspended. Oh, yes, they can, Kimley. I don't know who told you special ed kids can't be suspended. Hell yeah, special ed kids can be suspended. They just can't be suspended more than 10 days unless a manifestation determination has taken place. Okay? So anyhow, they tell you to come pick your kid up, and you picking your kid up early, taking off of work, and it's not counting towards the 10 days. So then you watch the Dr. Umar Johnson video and say, wait a minute, they can only suspend my kid 10 days? Well, John been suspended 30 days. You go up to the school, you ask for a printout of the suspensions, and they give you a printout that only has John suspended for 2 days. And you said, I done picked my son up at least 20 times. There's no way in hell my son only been suspended 2 days. But he has only been suspended 2 days because you signed the early dismissal book. So all those other days that you took him out of school, which technically were suspensions, don't get included as suspensions because you signed the early dismissal book. You see that? So in other words, they played you. They played you. They made you think they were looking out for you when the truth of the matter was they were not looking out for you. They were looking out for them. Okay? Now, somebody say you get suspension confused with expulsion. I'm not getting suspension confused with expulsion. I'm going to deal with both of them. So you just hold on a second there, buddy. So anyhow, okay, I just want special ed parents, keep your own suspension notes. Keep account of your own suspension records. Keep account of in-school, because principals don't like to add the in-school days, but the in-school days count. The in-school days count. Yes, the in-school days count. In-school suspension counts towards the 10 total days. Trust me, it does. Don't let them play you for a sucker. Okay, now let's keep on going. All right, now, okay, the first question that must be answered in the manifestation determination hearing is whether or not the child's behavior that got him in trouble, did the behavior in question have a direct relationship, or was it in any way an outgrowth or motivated by his disability? Let me say this again. If you want to suspend the child beyond 10 days, a manifestation must take place, a manifestation determination review hearing. And the only way you can suspend that child beyond 10 days is if you can prove that the behavior in question was not in any way related to the child's disability. Let me give you an example. Your son has ADHD. He's inattentive. He's hyperactivity. Now, you and I know he's just addicted to sugar. You and I know he's just addicted to caffeine. You and I know he's just addicted to high fructose corn syrup. Okay? However, okay, let's get back to the conversation. So your ADHD kid was found not doing his work. The teacher saw him. He was sitting at the back of the class daydreaming. He was daydreaming. And the teacher said, you know what? I'm tired of this daydreaming in my classroom. Okay? I'm recommending you for another suspension. He already been suspended 10 days. Now we're looking at an 11th day. And just so we clear here, removal from school of a special ed child for more than 10 days is considered a change of placement. I want y'all to write that down. Change of placement. Okay? Once you go beyond 10 days of suspension, Change of placement. So the teacher recommended a 1-day suspension for your ADHD child. The teacher recommended a 1-day suspension for your ADHD child. He already got 10. She wants to send him home for one more day, right? Guess what? A manifestation determination has to be held to determine whether or not y'all can change this boy's placement. Because after 10 days, it's a change of placement. Okay? After 10 days, it's a change of placement. That means the only way you can give him that 11th day, the only way you can change his placement is if that behavior did not have a relationship to his disability. So guess what? Umar Johnson goes with the mother as the parent advocate. All right? Or the mother goes by herself to advocate for her own child. And of course, I never want y'all to go to the school meetings by yourself. Okay? So, you're going to say that my son's daydreaming had a direct relationship to his disability. My son is in special ed for other health impairment, OHI, related to ADHD. My son is in special ed for other health impairment related to ADHD. One of the symptoms of ADHD is daydreaming, not paying attention, losing focus, loss of concentration. So this is an easy case. This is an easy case. The ADHD mom going to eat this case up for breakfast because she's going to pull out a copy of the DSM-5, which Dr. Umar has already told all of you parents at every lecture I've been to make sure you have a copy of the DSM-5 in your pocketbook. Brothers, in your briefcases, because we do not do man bags. You heard me, fellas? We do not do man bags, all right? So make sure you have a copy of the DSM-5 in your briefcase, and you're going to pull it out, and you're going to open up to ADHD, and you're going to say, here's the criteria for ADHD, Mr. Principal. Here's the criteria for ADHD, Mr. Vice Principal. Here's the criteria for ADHD, Mr. Dean of Students. Here's the criteria for ADHD, Mrs. Special Ed Coordinator. Here's the criteria for ADHD special ed teacher. Clearly, right here, it tells you focus, concentration, and attention. My son daydreaming in class was a function of his ADHD. And because his daydreaming was a function of his ADHD, you cannot change his placement. You cannot suspend my son an additional day. And if you do, I am going to file a due process complaint with you against the State Department of Education because you are discriminating against my child on the basis of disability. Okay? Y'all got me. So that's the easy case. ADHD kid, not paying attention. Teacher recommends an additional day of suspension. That's going to take him beyond 10, which means it is a change of placement. The suspension was for daydreaming in class, which is clearly a function of his disability. Let me give you something else. Your son is diagnosed with emotional disturbance or conduct disorder. Now, of course, we know conduct disorder is not a special ed disability, right? But what did I say in the previous tutorial? Even though it's not a special ed disability, it is a health impairment because it is a psychological, psychiatric illness, and psychologists and psychiatrists are considered health professionals. So your child is emotionally disturbed in special ed, ED, which I hate. I hate that label. I'm going to do a tutorial on emotional disturbance because you should never let your child get diagnosed with emotional disturbance. You really shouldn't, okay? Or he's in special ed for other health impairment for conduct disorder. He comes to school and he beats a kid up. Now, he already got 10 days, okay? He already got his 10. He got suspended 3 days the first week of school. He got suspended another day the second week of school. He got suspended a 5th day the last week of school. So he done already used up his 10. Okay, he'd already used up his 10. He comes to school, he get into a fight, he beat the kid up. But his diagnosis is emotional and behavioral disturbance. So guess what? When you go to the manifestation determination hearing, the first question they got to answer is what? Did the behavior in question have a direct relationship to the disability? Hell yeah. My son is emotionally and behaviorally disturbed. You damn right it had a direct relationship to the disability. And guess what? Because it did, he cannot be suspended an 11th day. You follow me? He can't. The IEP team has to rework the IEP, come up with a behavior plan. And we're going to talk about the behavior plan in a minute because I'm going to show you how y'all can really beat this manifestation determination hearing. Okay? So now let me give you an example where a kid cannot be defended by his disability. So the first case, the ADHD kid was daydreaming. Daydreaming is a function of ADHD. Second case, the conduct disorder kid or the emotionally behaviorally disturbed kid beat a kid up. That's a function of his disability. They're not going to be able to expel him. They're not going to be able to suspend him for an 11th day. Okay? Now, let me give you an example of a case where the disability is not going to save your child. Your daughter is diagnosed with a reading disability. She is diagnosed with a reading disability. She got into an argument with her teacher. And she cursed the teacher out and called her a white, nasty, trifling ass mother effer. Okay? She already got 10 days of suspension. So since she already got 10 days, we have to do a manifestation, right? Okay? You're going to go to the meeting and you're going to try to argue that your daughter cursing out Miss Slurbanowski and calling her a white, nasty, trifling SOB was a function of her disability. Are you going to win that case? No, you're not going to win. Okay? Because reading disabilities don't have nothing to do with cursing out racist white teachers. You got me? So guess what's going to happen? The IEP team is going to answer no, that behavior had nothing to do with her reading disability, and they will approve the subsequent days of suspension. You got me? So your child is going to get suspended or referred for expulsion because her reading disability does not protect her from cursing out racist white teachers. Okay? Everybody got me on that. Now, let me tell you a little secret. So your daughter gets suspended an 11th day. You call Dr. Umar Johnson up, right? You're going to say, Dr. Umar, did they have a right to do that? I'm going to say, yep. Because her reading disability had nothing to do with cursing out Miss Slurbanowski. But guess what? This is what we're going to do. Because your daughter been suspended more than 10 days, even though it was legal, you and I are going to call an IEP meeting, and you are going to challenge the placement. You are going to argue that since your daughter has been suspended beyond the normally accepted amount of days for a special ed student, you're going to argue that this middle school cannot meet the needs of my child because if they did, they wouldn't keep suspending my baby. So I am now demanding an approved private school at public school expense. Did you hear what I just said? Remember what I told you guys earlier. If you can prove that the public school cannot meet your child's needs, you can force the public school to pay for your child to go to a private school. This is the law. This is the law. So even though the school can legally suspend Shanae for an 11th day, we're going to argue that Shanae needs to go to a $30,000 a year private school because she keeps getting in trouble. So she obviously has poor relationships with the teachers in We Hate Black Kids Middle School. So since Shanae cannot get along with none of the white teachers in We Hate Black Kids Middle School, we're going to call an IEP meeting and we're going to demand a change in placement to the private school. You see that? So they got what they wanted, an 11th day of suspension, but we're going to get what we want, and that's going to be an approved private school. You see how we did that? Now, I got to give y'all a disclaimer. You know why I got to give y'all a disclaimer? Because certain teachers and principals are going to watch this, and they're going to be mad at Dr. Umar Johnson for telling y'all all the secrets. That's the first. They're going to be mad as hell. Why are you telling them this? That's the first thing they're going to say. I know my Philadelphia teachers, they're going to say, Doc, what are you doing? My New York teachers, because, you know, special ed is national. It's everywhere. Puerto Rico, St. Croix, Alaska. Special ed, this is what I'm telling y'all, you use it anywhere. So they're not going to like the fact that I'm telling y'all this, okay? But I do want to say this in defense of good black teachers and principals. I want to say this. I do not support black parents who use the system to protect a badass black child who they did not raise correctly. I got to say this. I'm teaching you how to use the system, but I'm hoping I'm teaching responsible parents how to use the system. I hope I'm not teaching trifling ass, ghetto ass, I don't spend no time with my kids, I don't make them value education, I let them go to school and do whatever the hell they want type of parents, because that's not why I'm doing this video. I'm not doing this video for those types of parents. So for my black teachers and my black principals and my black superintendents and my black counselors and my black social workers and my black nurses and my black school psychologists and my black dean of students, I want y'all to know that I ride with y'all who do a good job, and I'm not trying to empower trifling black parents to give you a hard time, because y'all already have a hard time. A good black teacher has the toughest job in America. A good black principal has the toughest job in America. A good black special ed coordinator, a good black counselor, a good black social worker, they have the toughest job in America. They are overworked and they are underpaid. So I want to make sure that everybody is clear that I'm not trying to help trifling black parents mistreat good black educators. Did you hear that? I'm not trying to help trifling black parents get over on good black educators. So I want to be clear about that. I want to be very, very clear about that. Okay? Okay? Because I am a card-carrying member of the National Association of Black School Educators, just like I'm a card-carrying member of the Association of Black Psychologists. I know I have to pay my dues. I know I got dues to pay. I'm going to pay my dues. I know I'm behind in my dues, but I'm still a member of the Black Educators, and I'm a member of the Black Psychologists. Okay? Shout out. Now, okay. Here's what I also want y'all to know. So question 1, was the behavior related to the disability? If it was, they cannot suspend. So I know some of y'all are going to say, wait a minute, Dr. Umar, you mean to tell me that if an emotionally disturbed kid gets suspended 10 days and his bad ass beats up another kid, and it's determined that that's a function of his emotional disturbance, they can't suspend him? No, they can't. This is why you have disciplined schools. This is why you have private schools. This is why some principals will pay. Some principals will pay. I'm one of them. I had a kid one time in the charter school where I was at. She was holy hell. I was willing to pay $30,000 for her to go to the private school because we couldn't do nothing with her. She had a lot of personal family issues that wasn't being addressed. Yes. Okay? Yes. Yes. Special ed kids can get away with murder if the behavior was related to their disability. Okay? So question number 1, was the behavior related to the disability? Okay? Now, question number 2, listen to this one. So let's say question number 1, you couldn't beat that. Let's go back to the girl who cursed out Miss Slurbanowski. That behavior was not a function of her disability. But guess what? You still have one more question that the school has to answer. The second question, was the child's IEP appropriate, and was it being implemented as it was intended to? Did y'all hear that? Listen to this again. The second question, was the child's IEP appropriate, and was the IEP being implemented the way it was designed to be by the IEP team? So let's stay with Shanae. Let's stay with Shanae, okay? Let's stay with Shanae. So Shanae cursed out the teacher. The first question, was that a function of her disability? No, she has a reading disability. Second question, was the IEP appropriate? Guess what we find out? We find out that Shanae's mother has been complaining to the principal about Shanae's relationship to the teacher she cursed out. And Shanae's mother was begging the principal to do something about the teacher because she felt that Shanae and that teacher was going to end up getting into an altercation because the teacher was disrespecting her daughter. Y'all follow me on this? So guess what? The mom requested that her daughter get a behavior plan. Mom said, can y'all give my daughter a behavior plan? She needs some school counseling. She got some problems, and the principal never got her to counseling. and the principal never got the behavior plan. And for the purposes of the IEP, school counseling and a behavior plan are known as what? Additional related services. They could also be listed as accommodations on the accommodations page of the IEP. So guess what? When they say, was the IEP appropriate and was it being implemented as it was designed, Shanae's mom is going to say no. Because I asked for school counseling as a related service, I did not get it. I asked for a behavior plan for my daughter, and I asked that something be done about the poor relationship between her and Miss Slurbanowski, and the principal didn't do nothing but shove me off. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? So guess what? On the second question, the school is going to have to answer no. That Shanae's IEP was not appropriate, or it was not being implemented appropriate. And because of that, because her mother made certain requests that the principal did not follow up on, Shanae was saved by the bell. Shanae cannot be suspended the 11th day because the IEP was not appropriate. Y'all see that? This is why I always tell y'all to write letters. This is why I tell y'all stop having conversations with the principal. This is why I tell y'all to write letters. I want my daughter to get a behavior plan. Now let me go over the law. Let me go over the law. Federal law requires any child in special ed, which means they have an IEP. If you're in special ed, you have an IEP. If you have an IEP, you in special ed, right? They the same thing. One is the program, the other is the plan for the program. Okay? Okay, so the law says that if a special ed child has a behavior problem, if the special ed child has a behavior problem, the school is obligated to develop a functional behavioral assessment and a positive behavior plan. If you taking notes, I want you to write down the acronym FBA. Write down the acronym FBA, Functional Behavioral Assessment. And then I want you to write down the acronym PBP, Positive Behavior Plan. If your child is in special ed, it doesn't matter if they deaf. It don't matter if they blind. It don't matter if they autistic. It don't matter if they have a speech and language impairment. It don't matter if they other health impaired for ADHD. It don't matter if they retarded. It don't matter if it's traumatic brain injury. It don't matter if it's orthopedic impairment. It don't matter if it's developmental delay. If your special ed child has behavior problems, the school is obligated to conduct a functional behavioral assessment. Now, what is a functional behavioral assessment? I want y'all to understand this, okay? A functional behavioral assessment is an assessment or an analysis of the factors, motivators, and causative agents that gave rise to the behavior. In other words, the functional behavioral assessment, the FBA is an investigation into why this child is misbehaving, right? Why is this child misbehaving? A functional assessment of why they misbehave. Let me say it again. A functional assessment of why is he always fighting? Why she always walking out of class? Why he never get his homework done? Why he always cursing out the teacher? The IEP team has to develop the function of the behavior. Now, do y'all want to know the 5 functions of the behavior? Hey, Stacy, I think it's your cell phone, hon, because you keep getting frozen, but I don't think anybody else is getting frozen. Anybody else is getting frozen? Everybody else still with me, or is your screen freezing up? Okay. Somebody said, Stacy, the problem is your phone only has 1 megapixel and 1 megabyte of data. So... Stacy, you got to get another phone, okay? You need some more megapixels, hon, okay? So now, okay, let me give you the functions of behavior. There's 5 major functions of behavior, okay? What's the first function? And these are in no particular order. Attention. Attention. Your child is going to school misbehaving because he or she wants attention from an adult or attention from the classmates because you're not giving them no attention at home. Did y'all hear that? I'm going to just keep it real. Can we keep it real tonight? Can we keep it real? Well, it's night here. I know it's afternoon in Philly and New York and LA and Houston and Chicago and Detroit and Indianapolis and Des Moines. I know it's afternoon, okay? But attention, if the kid is in the 3rd grade or younger, if your child is in the 3rd grade or younger and they're misbehaving, I know it's for attention. I know they are not getting enough attention at home from mommy or daddy. Okay? Okay? Straight up. What's the second function of attention? Escapism. They don't want to do the damn work. They don't care about no school. He going to be a football player, remember? She going to be a twerk dancer at the nightclubs, remember? Okay? She going to go hang out with the conscious stripper. Let me cut it out. But anyway, okay? The second function of behavior is to escape because they don't want to do the work, okay? The third function of behavior is motivation to do something else. You got me? In other words, your child doesn't want to do the work. They don't mind doing work. They're good in school, but they would rather be walking the halls. They would rather be playing on their cell phone. They would rather be in the computer class. They just not motivated to do it. Some kids don't want to do it. Other kids ain't motivated. They just want to do something else. So you have the first function of behavior is attention. The second function of behavior to escape the work. The third function of behavior is to do something else. They want to engage in an alternative behavior, okay? And then the fourth function of behavior, cut it out, Melanie, cut it out. I know I shouldn't have cracked that joke. But anyhow, in the fourth function of behavior is that the child might have a biological or medical problem that leads to the misbehavior. Let me give you an example. Your child is on Ritalin or Adderall or Strattera or Cyclert or Vyvanse, okay? And because they take psychiatric meds, okay, they often have to go to the bathroom and pee. They got to go pee-pee. And they also, okay, are very thirsty because drugs are diuretics. They dry out your body of water, liquid, and fluid, right? So your kid is taking Prozac and Ritalin and... Okay. Somebody just called me from Sweden. Who calling me from Sweden? I ain't never been to Sweden. I need to come to Sweden. I'm going to come to Sweden. I got to hit up all the European countries I ain't been to, and I got to hit up all the African countries I ain't been to. I keep getting the invitation to come to Italy, but Italy, for whatever reason, the black Italians, they not coming through. Okay, Australia. I keep getting hit up to come to Australia, so we got to work on that. But let me get back. Let me stay focused because y'all know I got ADHD, so I got to stay focused, okay? But my ADHD stands for Africans are destined for a higher destiny. You hear me? That's the ADHD I got. See, that's the ADHD y'all got. We got Africans are destined for a higher destiny. Y'all feel me? Africans are destined for higher development. Africans are destined for a higher destination. That's the ADHD we got. So anyhow, Michelle said, stop stealing from blacks. No, Michael said, you think I'm a thief, Michael? Okay. Why are you on my live feed, Michael? See, you one of those dusty hoteppers. Okay. So anyway, okay, let me get back. Where was I at? Okay. So your child takes medication and they need to constantly go to the bathroom. Okay. That could be a function of misbehavior because the kid got to keep on leaving the class to go get some water or to go pee-pee. You feel me? And what's the fifth function of behavior? So the first one is attention. The second one is escapism. Third one is motivated to do something else. The fourth one is biological or medical problem. And what's the fifth function? The fifth function of behavior is an unaddressed psychological or emotional problem. An unaddressed psychological or emotional problem. Jaleesa, why aren't celebrities donating to your school? Because they are scared of white people. Let me get back to the conversation, okay? So the fifth function of behavior is an unaddressed emotional or psychological issue. Now, remember how I said that if the kid is in third grade or younger, I'm willing to bet that the function of behavior is a lack of attention at home. Okay? If your child is in high school, I'm willing to bet that the function of their misbehavior is unaddressed psychological or emotional problems. You understand? In other words, daddy's in jail, mommy not letting the kids see their daddy, sexual abuse. A lot of our girls have been molested and raped and they never got help, parentlessness, domestic abuse, violence, okay? Bullying, peer pressure, marijuana addiction, alcoholism, cigarette addiction. Okay, so if your kid is in high school or greater, okay, now Detroit, I'm mad at Detroit. You know why I'm mad at Detroit? I'm mad at Detroit because I've been telling y'all this, all them schools in Detroit. I told y'all to send me. I can't get into the schools in Detroit. I've been trying to get into the schools in Detroit. Nobody has helped me get into the schools in Detroit yet. Sister Rhonda, shout out to Sister Rhonda in Detroit. She's been trying to help me out. Sister Julie, too. She's the president of the National Independent Black Parent Association Detroit chapter. They've been working, but I'm trying to get into the schools in Detroit, and they're not letting Dr. Umar go into the schools. I got 700,000. I know I can get one of them Detroit schools. So if y'all want me in Detroit, y'all need to get me into the schools. You feel me? Help me on out there. Okay? So I'm talking about all the kids. I'm saying that if the child is in third grade or younger, their misbehavior is normally a function of a lack of attention. If the child is in ninth grade or higher, the function of their misbehavior is probably related to an unaddressed psychological issue. So that's what the functional behavioral assessment is all about. And then after they do the functional behavioral assessment, okay, they then have to do the positive behavior plan. What is the positive behavior plan? It is a behavior plan that is based off the information that was gained while conducting the functional behavioral assessment. The feed is being interrupted. Well, that's probably Homeland Security. They know I'm in South Africa, building with the South African revolutionaries. Shout out to Soweto. Shout out to Cape Town. Shout out to Khayelitsha. Shout out to Pretoria. We're going to get up into Pretoria too. Pretoria, we're going to make that happen. Shout out to Tswane. Shout out to Joburg. Shout out to the whole South Africa. Okay, I'm loving it here. You know, South Africa is one of my second homes. Okay. Okay, so, okay. They have to do a positive behavior plan. What do they mean when they say positive behavior plan? Positive behavior plan means, as we talked about in my first tutorial about behavior, it means that the child should be rewarded for good behavior, not just punished for misbehavior. I hope y'all parents listening to me. When those schools do those behavior plans, you want to make sure that the school includes rewards. What happens when my child does what he's supposed to do? Don't just punish him when he don't do what he's supposed to do. When is he going to be rewarded for doing what he's supposed to do? Because you know Miss Slurbanowski, she always punishes little Isaac for messing up. But when little Isaac has a good week, she don't even praise little Isaac. She don't give him a pat on the back. She don't give him a smiley face. She don't give him a sticker. She don't send a note home. So positive behavior plan means, there you go, Ayanna Crawford. There you go, Irana. Incentives. Give the child incentives to continue the positive behavior. Well said, Ayanna. Well said. Incentives. She took the word right out of my mouth. Incentives for good behavior. Okay? All right? So that's the functional behavioral assessment, positive behavior plan. If your child need one and they don't have one and they in special ed, you need to write a letter to the school. Yep. I would like to have an IEP meeting so we can develop a functional behavioral assessment and positive behavior plan for my son. He is a fourth grader at We Hate Black Kids Middle School. And he's having behavioral issues and problems with his teacher, and we need to come together and develop a behavior plan to support my son. And when you go to the meeting to develop the functional behavioral assessment and positive behavior plan, don't sign it unless you agree with it, because it's a legal document. It's going to be attached to the IEP. So don't sign it if you don't agree with it. Okay? Very important. Very important. Get ABA in school, applied behavior analysis. Well, that's just a fancy word for functional behavioral assessment. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology, so I already got all that. Anyhow, Okay? There's something else I need to tell y'all about. Okay, there's something else I need to tell y'all about. Even if the child is in special education, Ayana, good job, the annuals. Ayana just brought up the fact that I think this is what you're talking about. And even if it's not, I need to mention it. Behavior plans need to be revisited. Don't let them do one behavior plan for your child and say we done. It doesn't work like that. The behavior plan is a work in progress. So guess what? They should be done every year. You get a new teacher, new classmates, you understand, new grade. Sometimes you got to do a behavior plan every marking period. Sometimes you got to do a behavior plan halfway through the year. Don't let them do one behavior plan and then try to pass that off as being appropriate when a manifestation determination comes up. Lincoln University, shout out to Lincoln University. I got an invite to come speak at Lincoln University, but they didn't get back to me. Cheney too. Shout out to Lincoln and Cheney, our two oldest HBCUs. So as soon as y'all get with me, I will be there because I can drive to Lincoln. I can drive to Cheney. I can drive to Morgan State. I'll be at Morgan State February 22nd. Shout out to Morgan State. I could drive to Bowie State. I can drive to Howard. Okay. I can drive to Coppin. Okay. Everywhere else, I think I can. Norfolk and Hampton and Virginia State, I can drive to them. That's a 5-hour ride, though, from Philly. I don't want to drive to them, but if I got to, I will. Okay. But all the rest of them, I need to be taking a flight. You feel me? I need to be flying. I need to save my energy for the oration. Okay. I have a divine responsibility to orate the truth of the black reality. So I don't want to be wasting my energy because y'all know when I'm done speaking, I'll be very, very tired because the ancestors channel their message through me. So my mind, body, and spirit are all involved in a Dr. Umar presentation, you see. So that's what kind of makes me different from the rest of my conscious community colleagues. My oratory is a spiritual thing. It's not for monetary gain or egotistical championing. Okay. When I speak, I tap into a higher power and I express their message using my earthly gifts. Okay. So that's how that's how that go. Okay. So let me say this. I got some bad news. Okay. Somebody said, do kids get in free in Columbus, Georgia? I don't know because that is not my event. I am being invited to Columbus, Georgia. Shout out to the brothers and sisters who are bringing me there. Same thing, Orlando, Florida. Shout out to the good brothers and sisters who are bringing me to Orlando. That's the same family that brought me to St. Petersburg, Florida. So you have to get in contact with them. Okay. All events that Dr. Umar Johnson hosts, children 12 and under are free. Elders 65 and older are free. But if I'm not hosting the event, I cannot dictate what they charge and what they don't charge since they actually have to bring me in. Okay. So you have to address that with them. Okay. If the special ed kid engaged in drugs, weapons, or serious bodily injury, stay with me. Drugs, weapons, or serious bodily injury. The school has the right, without a manifestation determination. They don't have to do a manifestation determination if it's weapons, drugs, or serious bodily injury. They can transfer the child out for an interim 45-day placement. I need y'all to write that down too. An interim 45-day placement immediately. It can be up to 45. It doesn't have to be 45 days. It can be up to 45 days. But they can transfer the child out of the school for up to 45 days as an interim alternative educational placement. And then when they come back, there's going to be an IEP meeting, okay, when they might cover manifestation, and that kid can be expelled. See, special ed kids can be expelled. as long as the behavior was not related to their disability. Special ed kids can be suspended more than 10 days as long as the behavior was not a manifestation of their disability. If the behavior was a manifestation of their disability, they cannot be expelled and they cannot be suspended more than 10 days. Okay? But if it involves drugs, weapons, serious bodily injury, they can be expelled and transferred out whether they in special ed or not. So don't think special ed protects your child from committing crimes. So your child can't walk into school with 10 ounces of coke talking about I'm emotionally disturbed. Sorry, son, that's not going to work because that is not covered in the law. Do y'all feel me on that? Okay. In San Francisco, they can be suspended for up to 2 months. Well, not without a manifestation, they can't. If you got special ed kids being suspended up to 2 months in San Francisco, do you know what you need to do, Erica? You need to start a chapter of the National Independent Black Parent Association, and y'all need to file a class action lawsuit against the San Francisco public schools for systematically discriminating against disabled African-American children. Okay? A 2-month suspension. First of all, that's an expulsion. First of all, that's not even a suspension. That's a temporary expulsion. You feel me? Oh, Ayana, you're a parent and a teacher. That's why you had that inside information. All right, Ayana. Ayana, wait, what city you in, Ayana? You need to join the National Independent Black Parent Association. But I need you to do it on the low because I don't want the school district knowing you helping the parents because I don't want your job to be in jeopardy, okay? Because you are obligated to the best interests of the district, not the best interests of the students, okay? So you're going to have to help us under the table because I don't want to mess with your how you earn your living for the family until we have the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy and you could come work for us. Springfield, Massachusetts. Is that where Abraham Lincoln from? Where Abraham Lincoln? No, he's from Illinois, Springfield, Illinois. I was in Boston, Ayana. You should have came on out. Okay. So what are your thoughts about parents going to observe their child in school? Okay, what are my thoughts about parents going to observe their child in school? First of all, most schools ain't going to let you do that. Now, if the child is in special ed and they have an IEP, parents do have a right to observe special ed kids to some extent. The law does give special ed parents the right to observe their kids to some extent. But if you're a regular ed parent, there's no law that gives you a right to observe your child in the classroom. Okay? So how do you get around that? Russ College, you want Dr. Umar at Russ College? Send the request to drumarspeaks@gmail.com or drumarspeaks@yahoo.com. That's DRUMAR Speaks. Is it Dr. Umar Speaks or Dr. Umar Johnson Speaks? It's Dr. Umar Speaks, I believe. I'm forgetting my own email. Dr. Umar Speaks at yahoo.com. Dr. Umar Speaks at gmail.com. DRUMAR Johnson. No, Doctor. Wait a minute. Let me check that real quick. Hold on. Okay, I checked it. It's Dr. Umar Speaks, not Johnson. Dr. Umar Speaks at gmail.com. Dr. Umar Speaks at yahoo.com. Okay. Volunteer in the classroom. Well, if you notice, you don't see a lot of parent volunteers in the class. They might let you do that in the earlier grades. They don't really want parents volunteering in the upper grades, especially if your child is in that classroom. Okay, if your child is in that classroom. Also, for Black History Month, let me say this for Black History Month, because some of y'all get mad at me when I can't fit y'all in February. Stop waiting until the last minute to make a request for Black History Month. That's my busiest month of the year. If you hitting me up in January for Black History Month, you late. My schedule fills up 3 months in advance. If you want to invite me to Black History, you need to do it now. All my colleges, my black colleges that want to hit me up at the last minute for Black History Month, you need to hit me up now. Get on the February calendar now. Don't wait till the last minute. Omega Black said, this is an imposter. So guess what, Omega Black? You just got blocked, my brother, and you will never post again on my page for being an asshole. See how easy that was for me? Who the next person to get blocked? Do we have any questions about tonight's conversation? Okay. Have you ever did a lecture at Morehouse? No, but I got some brothers down at Morehouse who plan on bringing me down there. Okay, so I should be at Morehouse soon. Indianapolis, I'm going to get back to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is actually the first event that Dr. Umar Johnson hosted himself in, what was it, February of 2015 when I was in Indianapolis. You guys were actually my first event that yeah. I don't know why people come on my page and talk shit, because all I'm going to do is block you. And you'll never post on my page again in your life. That is so stupid. I don't understand you dusty hoteppers. If you don't like me, don't be bothered with me. That's all. I'm not bothering you. See? But the reason why y'all want to mess with me, because I'm top dog. And can't none of y'all do nothing about it. Okay? I'm not being arrogant, but I'm the one. I'm not going to be the one forever. God is going to take this Christ energy that she gave me, and she's going to give it to another black man, and another black man, and another black man. I can't keep it forever, but while I have it, let me enjoy my couple years of being at the forefront before I have to pass the baton. You ain't got to hate. Congratulate. Okay, everybody's good at something. Okay, I'm good at what I do. You're good at, find your strength and develop your strength. Stop trying to block other Africans from achieving their destiny. Stop that Willie Lynch post-traumatic slavery disease, weak ass hotepper stuff. Okay? So anyhow, any questions about manifestation, determination, suspension, and expulsion? What if the parent does not reveal that the child has an IEP? Yo, Scene, can I ask you a question, love? If your child is in special ed, which means they have an IEP, which means they're in public or charter school, which means that there's a copy of the psychological evaluation and the IEP in the report, how can the school not know that the child has an IEP? Now, sometimes that does happen. When the child transfers to another school, your child transfers to another school, okay, if the records did not go with the child, because that happens a lot, especially in the hood, because they trifling. They don't even send the kids records. So the school might know that your child, they might not know that your child has an IEP. So then you have to decide whether you want to let them know or not. Because if your child don't need special ed, I wouldn't tell them. I would let a whole marking period go by, let my child get straight A's and B's on the report card. Then I'll call an IEP meeting and say, guess what? I'm exiting my kid from special ed. They don't need special ed, and y'all can clearly see because he's straight A's and B's. But if you got a badass kid who you know going to be getting in trouble, who you know need that 10-day rule, you better let the school know they got an IEP. Otherwise, that boy going to be getting suspended more than 10 days, okay? So it all depends on what type of child you got. Any plans on coming to Charlotte? Yes, but I can't find a venue in Charlotte. Well, my good brothers from Power in One Clothing, shout out to them. They told me about a venue in Charlotte that I might could check out. But if my Charlotte people, I'm telling you where, Charlotte, I need a venue. Los Angeles, I need a venue. Seven Cities, Virginia, I need a venue. Seattle, I need a venue. Austin, Texas, I need a venue. North Carolina, I need a venue. So there's a couple, couple places. I just came from Boston. I don't know how y'all don't be knowing I be in y'all city. All you got to do is go on my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, and I list all of that. Okay? Well, if you know the venue, just send it to me on WhatsApp. Add me on WhatsApp, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Okay, just text me the venue information. Harrisburg, I come to Harrisburg whenever. Y'all know I used to be a principal up in Harrisburg. I come to Harrisburg whenever. You just got to find a venue. Okay, Tamika, find me a venue, Tamika Butler. I love to come to Harrisburg. Remember, I went to Millersville University. You know what I mean? So that's in Harrisburg's backyard. So Rochester, New York, I need a venue for Rochester. Okay. Houston, Texas, I just came from Houston. We sold out in Houston. Where was you at, my brother? Okay, Chicago, I just came from Chicago. We sold out. Jamaica, we jam-packed. You wasn't at the Jamaica Marcus Garvey celebration? I just came from Jamaica, August the 21st. Okay. Cleveland, I'll be coming back to Cleveland soon. Shout out to Sister Angie. Cincinnati, I get a lot of love in Ohio. Ohio gives Dr. Umar a lot of love. I get a lot of love in Ohio. Okay. South Carolina, I'll be in South Carolina second week in November. South Carolina. In fact, Stacy, we need to go ahead and settle on the venue for the community lecture. because we only got a couple weeks. So we need to settle on the venue for the community lecture for Greenville, South Carolina, so we can start advertising. So you and I will have a conversation before the week is out, because we only got about 4 weeks. So we need to set that up. Poughkeepsie, New York. Angela Zimmerman, I never even heard of Poughkeepsie, New York. But I'm willing to come. I'm willing to come. Lancaster, PA, no doubt. No doubt. Lancaster, Millersville, that's me. You got to remember now, I'm the only black man to bring Jay-Z to Lancaster. You remember that now. My Jay-Z KRS-One concert. Greatest of all time. Millersville University alumni, shout out. Milwaukee, I was just in Milwaukee. We was jam-packed. I don't know where y'all will be. Y'all people don't be around. I'll be coming to your city. You don't even know I'll be in your city. But I'm not going to blame y'all, because sometimes we don't do a good job advertising events, okay? I'm going to admit that. Sometimes my host team don't do a good job getting the word out to the community. So Orlando, I'll be in Orlando November the 5th, okay? Yes, Melanie, I'm coming back to Chicago when y'all find me a bigger venue. Compton, I'm looking for a venue in Compton, California. I need a venue in Compton. Baltimore, I'll be coming back to Baltimore soon. Downtown Cultural Arts Center. Baltimore, not a problem. I got Baltimore. I might even do Baltimore for Kwanzaa. Fort Worth is Dallas. Fort Worth is Dallas. I just did Dallas. So y'all get clued in with Dallas. Okay. Plus, I got a couple Dusty Hotepper haters in Fort Worth, too. But that's not an issue. Fort Worth, I'll include y'all with Dallas. Brooklyn, I'll be coming back to Brooklyn soon. I'll be in Queens in December. Elizabeth, New Jersey in Queens. That's a Saturday, Sunday. Elizabeth, New Jersey and Queens, that's a Saturday, Sunday. That's like a December 9th and 10th. Evansville, Indiana. We're working on Evansville, Indiana right now. St. Louis, I think we got a venue for St. Louis. I already did Toast a couple months ago. Newark, New Jersey, Source of Knowledge Bookstore, that's coming up. Okay. Vegas is coming up soon. I'm going to be, okay. All right. Any questions about the topic tonight? Okay. Speaking requests, Dr. Umar Speaks at gmail.com. Dr. Umar Speaks at yahoo.com. I need everybody to join the National Independent Black Parent Association chapter in your town. We need you to come to the Parent Association Conference in Oakland, California, January 26th and 27th, Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. so you can get the most necessary training. Wichita. I spoke in Wichita, Kansas once. Haven't been back since, so we need to go. We could do Wichita. We could do Wichita. I love to go to places I've never been. I love to go to places I've never been. Okay, Inglewood, California. That's Inglewood. Is that L.A.? That's right next to L.A.? I've never been to Inglewood. Detroit. I'm looking for a venue in Detroit because I need to do. Detroit and Atlanta are at the top of the list for Kwanzaa. Detroit and Atlanta are at the top of the list for Kwanzaa. Okay. What's the topic? The topic is everything. The topic is everything. Okay. So, on that note, because what time is it? It is 6:15 in Philly, so that means it's 12:15 here. I'm going to get ready to check my emails, check my WhatsApps, check my texts, check my inboxes, because I got to wake up early tomorrow because we're going to the museums tomorrow. The Apartheid Museum and the Nelson and Winnie Mandela House. Little Rock. I'm going to be coming back to Pine Bluff. I need to do Pine Bluff. I did Little Rock. I never did Pine Bluff. Somebody told me I need to do Pine Bluff. Okay. Mississippi. Yeah. New Orleans. I need a venue in New Orleans. I need my New Orleans people to help me out. I can't find a venue in New Orleans. Okay, I'm looking for that too. Okay. So that's where we at, Black family. So I'm going to bid everybody a good night. Make sure you donate to the school. GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. Or you can mail in your donation payable to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, PA. 6872, Philadelphia, PA 19132. What I think about the Meek Millie and Beanie situation, I hope they work it out. You know, I don't want the brothers in Philly, you know, going at each other. You know, they grown men. Both of them successful in their own right. Beanie was the greatest rapper Philly had. Meek Mill is the greatest rapper Philly has right now. You know what I mean? So You know, they both are at the top of their game. I just hope they can work it out. You know what I'm saying? I met Beanie Siegel when we brought him to Millersville University, and Meek Millie grew up across the street from us on 18th Street. So, you know, I think they're gonna work that out. I think they're gonna work that out. So I ain't got no problem. I think, you know, at the end of the day, Meek Millie and Beans got love for each other. So North Philly, South Philly, we gonna work the whole thing out. All right. So on that note, peace and love. Ashe. I'll be back at y'all tomorrow. Black Power.